Why don't you tell us about the crawling hand,
All right.
and I'll tell you about the slime people
Okay. That's cool.
in a show where I messed up completely.
That's all right. I took copious notes.
Copious notes.
Yes, and a lot.
Okay, so today's going to be an interesting show. Me being like under the weather, told Roddy to watch The Crawling Hand, and I being like, out of it, ended up watching The Slime People. So we're going to do a double mini review for you. Roddy's going to take it away with The
Book
Crawling
Rolling,
Hand.
1963, starring Peter Breck, who was on the Big Valley,
Big
right?
Valley, yeah.
And Kent Taylor, who's been in a lot of,
Boston Blackie.
yeah, he was Boston Blackie, and
And he was in a
he's
lot of
been a
those,
lot of B movies and
he
stuff.
was in a lot of those Al Adamson classics in the
Yeah,
60s.
and also Alan Hale, the skipper from Gilligan's Island, as the sheriff,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him.
and Allison Hayes, who
Oh, the great Allison Hayes.
played a secretary, but you didn't really see her much. She
Oh,
was sort of I think she had well, she liked the astronaut guy who died. I don't. It was kind of vague, at least for me. So anyway, the movie starts.
is that the one that starts off with like a spaceship?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, 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 yeah. I've watched this movie before, but since I screwed up, I'm not at liberty to
yeah.
discuss it any in depth.
So you see, Breck uh, in the movie, he's called Steve, and Kent Taylor is called Max. So they're in their office waiting, and saying, "Oh, it's been 9 hours without any contact from the astronaut. What do they call him? Long? No, what do they call him? Lockhart." And then he Steve says, "Well, let's put a countdown for how much oxygen he has left." So then you in the background you're hearing the countdown going, and then the secretary Allison Hayes, she's all kind of nervous and stuff. So I think she had some kind of budding relationship with Lockhart. And then the press calls, and Steve's like, "Oh, no comment, no comment." And everyone is edgy. They go out to the director of the space program, and he's all pissy. The guy's not. Obviously, we sent off two astronauts, and they both seem to die. So we're going ahead with a mission for four astronauts because the loneliness of space is what's causing the what caused the two astronauts to die or something, because they don't know really what happened to them. And they're arguing, and the director wants to do put all four astronauts up at once. Those are the remaining astronauts, and Steve is against it and stuff. So there's then they're back, and Max and Steve are arguing, why didn't happen, and there's no oxygen. What went wrong? Oh my God, they're worrying back and forth, smoking cigarettes and whatever. And then suddenly they hear the astronaut Lockhart says, "Do you read me? Do you read me?" So they go, "Lockhart, uh, what's the matter?" And Lockhart's got like a white face, and around his eyes are all black. And he's like, "Kill, kill, press the red button, kill." They're like, "What's the matter, Steve? How could you survive without oxygen?" "Kill, kill, press the red button." And it's like, "Well, you press the red button." "Won't let me kill." So then he's going on and on. And so finally, Max flips the switch and he presses the red button. And because the spaceship has gone off its trajectory and it was going to crash into a populated area of California. So they explode the ship, and they were like wondering, how did he stay alive? It's been like 20 minutes with no oxygen. How could he stay alive? And they're wondering and stuff. And then Max goes, Well, we have this rat here that we sent up in the pre-orbital stuff, and when it came back, all it wanted to do was attack and kill the other rats. We have to keep it separate. So maybe in the upper atmospheres, if you have all the chemicals like oxygen and nitrogen and whatever, and plus the cosmic radiation, maybe that creates life that can evolve in hours, if not minutes, and stuff. And maybe that rapid life force is what infected Lockhart and stuff. And so they're pondering and wondering, and then it switches to a malt shop, and the girls are two girls are talking, and you have the manager like Pops, and he's like, no, the music's playing. He's like, no dancing, and no. The girl has her grandfather is a medical scientist at the university that all the kids go to, and she has rats there, and he's like, no rats, no dancing, and so he keeps saying, eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you're gonna die, and he's all crotchety and cranky, and no one's really listening to him. So then the two girls are talking about Marta. That is the one girl. She's an exchange student from Sweden who's coming over to visit her grandfather, who's the head medical.
Siri Stefan is her name. The
Yes,
actress's name.
yes, and her grandfather's the head of the medical unit of the university, and they're talking about how she hooked her boyfriend Paul, who's dreamy and a lone wolf and stuff. So he pulls up. He comes in, and he's all swagger and cocky and stuff. And he's like, "Come on, finish your milk. We're gonna go to we're gonna go swimming." He says, "Oh, I don't have my swimsuit. We'll have to stop back at my house." He's all like, ugh, like, oh, okay. So they pull up to his house just as the girl's grandfather comes. And so she like kisses her grandfather, gives him the rats, and then she runs into the house. And then the grandfather is like, Paul, you keep too much to yourself. You want to be a scientist. You have to learn to share your what you know and what you learn and stuff. And the guy's like, I'm gonna make it on my own, and still swaggering and stuff. So they're at the beach, and they're romping around, playing, and kissing, and talking goofy stuff. And that's where you find out she's an exchange student. She's only going to be there a year, and she is going to go back. And he's like, yeah, but if you go back, you won't be able to see me. Why don't you stay? Well, maybe we'll get married and stuff. So they're frolicking and go swimming and joking around, and then they're sort of play wrestling. She falls, and then she sees an arm in a spacesuit sleeve on the beach. So she screams and, oh, take me away. And Paul is all interested. He's all curious about it. And he wants to look at it and examine it. And she's like, no, take me away. So
this would be the crawling hand.
Yeah, this will be the crawling hand.
Okay.
So then he drops her off, and then he goes on where he lives. He's rooming in some lady's house, and he sort of sneaks in and stuff, and he's looking at some old papers, and he's reading about an astronaut, the first astronaut who went up into space and disappeared. So the landlady, she's there. She's like, freeze, because she's got an old gun on him, and he's like, whoa, it's me, Mrs. Hotchkiss or something like that. And so she's like, oh, it's a good thing I didn't shoot first and ask questions later and stuff. So then, she's like, you want some dinner? She's like, no, I'm going to bed early. So then he goes upstairs and he rips off the shower curtain of his shower. And he goes back to the beach looking for the hand. And as he's searching around, you see the hand in the foreground, and you see the fingers starting to move. So then he Goes over, he wraps the hand in the shower curtain, then he brings it back home. And he hides it in the back area where she keeps canned goods and a freezer and whatnot. And it goes the back to the space center where Steve walks in and he hands um, Max his resignation letter because he doesn't want anything to do with this. And then, and then that's when Max tells Steve about the rat who when it came back, all I wanted to do was kill. And that's when he starts talking about he extrapolates and he goes into greater length about the force of life and how the chemicals in space probably created life and then maybe it infected Lockhart, the astronaut, and stuff. And then you see the hand moving and it starts crawling away and it knocks over a jar. And Mrs. Hotchkiss hears it. She goes downstairs with a gun. She feeds her cat. And she then goes into the place and she blames it on that young guy, Paul. She says, he didn't want anything to eat. And then he came down here and knocked over some jam. So she's cleans it up. And in the meantime, you see the hand had somehow crawled upstairs and it was in her bed. And then, she finishes cleaning up and then, she gets ready for bed and she gets a shot of booze and then she takes some pills and then she's laying there. And then you see like this hand come from behind the pillow and you're thinking, uh-oh, here it comes. And then it's actually her hand. And then she's like wiping her face and stuff. And then the hand comes out and it starts strangling her and she's fighting it. And then, it kills her and stuff. And as she's trying to reach her gun that's on the nightstand, and while the hand is choking her, and then as she falls, she pulls the gun off the nightstand. The gun goes off, wakes up Paul, comes running in, finds her dead. He calls the sheriff, and then sheriff comes to investigate, and they're looking around. In the meantime, Paul is like looking for where the hand is because he around her or near her he found because the hand was in the sleeve of the astronaut uniform, and then it had a glove on it, but the glove came off, and then you see the hand is all like corroded skin on part of it. So he's looking for the hand because it's not where he hit it. And then the sheriff and his men come in to investigate, and they're looking around like, all right, we're gonna, we're gonna take the body back, and we're gonna send the fingerprints to Washington D.C. And in the meantime, the sheriff gives Paul some sleeping pills and 2 glasses of milk to knock him out and rest, so he's not all excited and stuff. So then Paul, after the sheriff leaves, Paul's there and he tries to call Max, because I guess he's a famous scientist in space biology or space medicine or whatever. And as he's trying to call, he sees starting to get dopey from the pills, and then you see the hand crawling up, and then as he's talking and he's like starting to fall asleep, suddenly the hand, which is crawling up the banister behind him, like jumps on him, starts strangling him, and he's wrestling with the hand, and then the hand's choking him in the neck, and then he starts to pass out, and then for some reason, instead of killing him, the hand just starts crawling off, and as it's crawling, it crawls over his mouth, Paul's mouth, and you assume Paul gets infected by that life virus or whatever. So then the coroner, the 2 ambulance guys were taking the body to the coroner. They're packing the lady up and they put her in the back of the ambulance, and then they come in and they're one guy wants to look for beer, It's like, oh, come on, let's just go. So, no, these old ladies always have beer around. So they look in the fridge and they find beer. Oh, yeah, that's a nice, cool one. So then they're walking out and they find an unconscious Paul and they're like, oh my God. So they put him on a gurney and put him in the ambulance next to the dead lady. Um, and then in the meantime, um, the fingerprints, what was that? The sheriff and the deputy, they send the fingerprints off to Washington and they're talking about it. And it's like, do you think Paul did it? I don't know. We'll have to find out oh no, they get the results for the fingerprints and it's, they get a wire. And he's like, well, it looks like that fingerprint is from some astronaut named Lockhart. We're like, what's he doing here? I never heard of him and stuff. So then uh, they're talking to, oh, before that, while they're driving the ambulance in, Paul wakes up and then he looks over and he sees the dead landlady. He screams and he jumps out of the ambulance and runs away. So then it's like the next day, and then that's when the sheriff and the deputy get the um, telegram from Washington saying the fingerprint belongs to Lockhart, the astronaut. So then Steve and Max are called in to the director of the space thing. He says, "What's this going on? Like, why? How can Lockhart's fingerprint appear on the murder scene in California because he's dead and there's some weird ghost story? So I want going on down there. So I want you two to go to California and find out what's going on." So then they go off to um, to California, and then the sheriff um, he's he tells Paul, he finds Paul, and he tells him, stay in the house. We're going to put a guard on. We don't want you out. Don't go anywhere, because you've been missing and this is still screwy. It's still a murder going on. So then Paul goes upstairs and he tries to record uh, his voice and tell the events of what happened. And he wants to leave it to Marta and her grandfather so that, they know what's going on. But suddenly, he feels like he's in agony and pain. And then, you look up and his eyes are black and his face is white like the astronaut. And then he takes the tape recorder and he throws it down. He starts breaking it and stepping on it to break it. And then, you see that he looks in the mirror and, you see him all dark eyes and white face and stuff. The Steve and Max, they get there, they meet the sheriff. He wants to know, like, what's going on, and they're trying to be cagey, like, well, not tell him. And he's like, he doesn't know Lockhart is dead. And like nobody knows Lockhart is dead because they haven't told the press yet. So he's like, what's your astronaut doing here in California? Like, well, we're here to find out and see if it's really him and stuff. So they go to look for Paul, and the deputy who's guarding the house says, well, you can't go in. Nobody's allowed in or out. So they go around the back. Well, first you see Paul puts up a sign, and because he looks out and he sees them and he recognizes Max, the space medical doctor, whatever he is, and he writes a sign that says, "Come around the back." So they go around the back, and then Paul throws them a note saying, "Come back tonight, and the door will be open." So they get they get into the car, and then they drive away from the back, and the deputy hears them, so he goes around the back to look at them and try to catch them. And while he's away from the front door, Marta, the girlfriend, comes up. She walks right in, But she starts talking to Paul, and he's like, "Get away from here! Get out of here! Stay away!" Because he knows something's wrong. And and she's like, "But Paul, what's going on? I'm here to help you. Blah blah blah." And then the deputy comes back to the front, catches her, and chases her out. And Paul is saying, "Keep her away." He looks normal now. He doesn't have the black eyes and the white face. And then Steve and Max go to the funeral home where the dead body of the landlady is, and they convince the guy that they're relatives. So, and can we see the body? So the funeral director takes him to see the body, and Max pulls out some weird radiation detector and says, "Oh, there's radiation all over this lady." And Steve's like, "Well, then I guess Lockhart was here." And then it's nighttime, and Steve and Max, they sneak back into the house, and the back door is open, like Paul said it would be. And they're checking for radiation. And they see there's radiation here. It's on the shelf. And it's going up the wall. Oh, it's on the ceiling. What's going on? And then as they turn around, there's Paul there, black eyes, white face, and he attacks them and fights them. And then he escapes out the door. In the meantime, after he escapes, the deputy runs in, and he's like, "What are you doing in the house? Come on, I'm gonna." I don't know if he takes him down. He takes. I think he takes him to the sheriff. And then you see Paul. He's walking around, and he passes by the soda shop with the old guy who was there in the beginning, and the one who was telling everybody no dancing, no rats and stuff. And Paul goes in, he starts strangling him, and then suddenly something stops him, and then he looks normal again, and he's like
So
horrified.
he's under the control of the hand.
He's under the control. Yeah, he's under the control of the hand. I guess because when the hand crossed his, that's what I assume. When the hand crossed his mouth, some of the life energy, vital life energy or force or whatever, infected him. So then, he doesn't kill Pops, the old guy, but he's horrified at what he does. So he like runs away. And then you see the two girls who were in the soda shop in the beginning. They're one is trying to study, the friend, and she goes to Marta, and she's like, "Hey, Marta, come on, we got to study. We got a test tomorrow." And Marta's like, "Oh, I'm worried about Paul. It's not like him, and I want to help him and stuff." So then Grandpa comes in. He's like, "Oh, you two girls have been studying hard. You need a snack. You need a rest." And Marta's like, "Oh, I'm not hungry and stuff." And then so the girlfriend goes out. The friend goes with Grandpa to get some snacks. So then Marta's there alone, and then Paul, he's knocking on the window, and she opens the window. Marta opens the window, and he goes, "I'm leaving. I just wanted to say goodbye to you." And she's like, "No, no, I want to help you. I want to, make sure you're okay, and I'll be with you, and I want to get married to you and stuff." And suddenly Paul gets, the black eyes and the white face again. He starts strangling her, and she, she screams and stuff, and then Paul jumps, but he doesn't kill her, but he jumps out the window and runs away. And then the cops the cops pull up because they were the attack was reported, and they have Steve and Max in the back of the car, and he's like, I should put you in jail for trying to tamper with this investigation stuff. So they all go in, and it's like um they're talking. It was like, Paul attacked you. It was Paul, but it wasn't him. It was something else going on. So Paul goes back to the house, and he's looking, and he finds the hand, and he wraps it up in a blanket, and he puts it in the trunk of his car, and then he drives away. And then the cops, they pull up to Paul's house, and they're looking for Paul, and then they hear that Paul was spotted driving, down near the outskirts of town. So they get in and they drive away to go get Paul. So while Paul's driving, the hand finds a way to go get it out from the trunk and into the car, and it attacks him. And Paul's driving and trying to fight off the attack, and he ends up in a like a garbage dump or something. And he's running. I don't know. He's running with the hand, and he trips and falls, and then the hand escapes. And he's looking around for the hand, and the cops arrive, and he's standing there, and he's um, fighting with the hand. He's looking for the hand, and the hand's there, and he's fighting with it. He breaks a bottle, and it's attacking it. And then you see cats in the dump; they're fighting each other. And then the cops, he's like stabbing the hand, and then the cops come, and they're like, "Paul, you have to put the bottle down, because it's got a broken bottle." So, and you see Paul sort of like out of it, and he's not, he's like fuzzy, he doesn't know where he is or what's going on. And then in the meantime, you see these cats, they're attacking the hand and they're eating it and pulling it apart and stuff. And then I guess the hand dies, which releases Paul, and he faints down. So they say, let's get him to a hospital. And then they Steve finds the hand, and then they wrap it up. They put it in a box and says, "We're going to ship that back to Washington." And then Paul's in the hospital. He's okay, and Martha's there, and she's all lovey-dovey. And so they're like, "Well, that box," and the sheriff's like, "What'd you do with that thing?" It's like, "Oh, it's back to Washington now. Good, as long as it's out of my jurisdiction." So then the two ambulance guys who you saw from the earlier part of the movie, he's like, "Hey, you want to know what's in that box?" "No, I don't." "Yeah, let's go look." "No, I don't want to see. I got the key." "No, don't open it. Could be dangerous." "Why? What is it going to do? Jump out and bite you?" So the one guy, he opens the box up, and the box is empty. The end.
Ah! Yeah, I was reading about this movie. Oh boy. So it's basically there's an astronaut that's out in space and he's communicating with Earth and he's like, "Oh, my hand, it's doing something weird to me. I don't know." And then like
Yeah.
so they don't ever explain what the deal was. My hand making me do things. Kill, kill.
Yeah.
Okay. So
From watching it, my impression was he went into outer space, and because of the radioactivity and the cosmic rays, any oxygen, and we also send up bacteria and microorganisms within the capsule. Somehow the cosmic rays caused them to mutate and create a new life form, which
okay.
then infected the astronaut and controlled him. And I, I guess it was vicious or evil, or it wanted to kill. And then it took over his body or his hand anyway, and wouldn't let him do certain things.
Okay.
It made him homicidal. I'd like, all right.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're just like Joe Friday stating the facts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. It's like, okay.
You're not you're not questioning it. You're not like trying to
No,
analyze it. You're just telling us what happens. Well, I know I've seen this movie before. I don't remember it because both the movies today came out from Rhino a long time ago as on VHS, and I remember buying them both like I don't know on the same day. They were like $10 each or whatever, and I watched them. But yeah, but Allison Hayes isn't in much of this.
no, she's in the very beginning.
That's a
And
waste.
she just has throwaway scenes. She plays the secretary to Steve and Matt, who are, Peter Breck and Ken Taylor. But I mean, she's only there to, I don't know, maybe show somebody a favor or something.
No, okay. All right. Well, then
Yeah.
that movie was directed by the guy who directed I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. What else did he do? The Herbert Strock is his name. Let me find him here. Let's see. He did quite a few movies. He did How to Make a Monster, The Crawling Hand. He also was involved with what else was he? He was involved with some other movies. some other sci-fi movies. Blood of Dracula, which was like a teenage female Dracula. Um, the Magnetic Monster, Riders to the Stars, and Gog. So
Uh,
he had quite a few, as well as TV, a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. But let's see. It says here he continued with the B pictures with the Crawling Hand, the Devil's Messenger. Okay, that's with Lon Chaney Jr. and something called Rider on a Dead Horse, which I don't know what it is. But
hmm.
here's the messed up part. He was like 87 and he died in an auto accident. That
Ooh,
stinks. In
gee,
2005, he was 87, man.
wow,
He was still hanging in there. So
wow.
yeah. Oh well. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it this week, and maybe I'll do a little talk about it too next time. But yeah.
It was a good movie. It was
Was it good?
fun.
Really? Was it good? Was it entertaining?
It was entertaining. It was fast moving, not too
Okay.
much wasted, padding or scenery and stuff. I didn't explain much, but usually when you go to those movies,
Yeah.
if you buy the
Right.
premise, it's fun. If you don't think too deeply about this, then it's a fun movie. If you're looking for deep explanations or like why did the thing want to kill, and is it the same organism that always evolves up in space? You don't think that. It's like an amusement park movie. You go for the fun rides, you scream up and down on the roller coaster, and you try to shoot the ducks with the
Got it.
gun, and you don't think anything deep. It's just a fun Friday movie or Saturday movie, and you can you know uh, mess around with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and not really miss much of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
so it's a fun movie.
As long as you thought it was fun, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
Now the Slime People, I guess it could be considered fun, but it's a stupid movie. Okay.
yeah.
It was starring and directed by Robert Hutton, who has a lot of credits, including I'll just give his B movie credits: Colossus of New York, Invisible Invaders, The
Oh,
Slime People, The Vulture, They Came from Beyond Space. He was in a Bond movie, You Only Live Twice. He was in Torture Garden, which is anthology. He was in Cry of the Banshee, which was like supposedly based on Edgar Allan Poe AIP movie, but he's not. He was in Trog. He was in Tales from the Crypt. So quite as well as I mean, he started his career in '43, so he's has quite
oh
the
yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he was in some. Wasn't he something about aliens and you have to wear special
I
glasses?
think they came from Beyond Space, isn't it?
Yeah, something like. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Which is a British movie, but
yeah. I remember seeing him in a lot of British movies. Well, some British movies, I should say.
anyway, he's the star and the director, and he should be ashamed. Well, I should. It's just a stupid movie. Apparently, this movie is infamous for its extensive use of fog machines, which is true. With the fog becoming so thick towards the end that it virtually is impossible to see any of the actors. Yeah, kind of, sort of. The fog is basically like created by these underground dwellers who are moving above ground because underground atomic testing is like messing them up, and they want to live somewhere, so they're moving up, and basically they come out of the ground, out of caves or whatever in the town in California, and they created this big fog which solidifies and basically traps everybody there so the army can't come in. And it's also lowering the temperature because they need the temperature to be a certain level so they can go above, at night and during the day. So okay, so there's like these like they look kind of like the creature from the Black Lagoon, but more stupid, and basically they spear people because at the beginning you see a guy speared on the beach, and you're like, okay. And then the next scene is Robert Hutton. He's flying in a plane, and he's having problems, and he sees a the and he sees like some kind of fog around or whatever, but he's able to land. He's able to land, and he goes into town, and he's just nobody around, you know. So he runs into a professor with two, hot teenage daughters, which Robert Hutton later on becomes inappropriate with because he's like a 45-year-old and she's like a teenager. He gives her a nice big kiss too. That's Susan Hart from AIP movies, like the bikini. What was it called? For beach party movies. Let's just say beach party movies. Tremendous body on this woman. Not kind of hidden in this movie, but when she did the beach party, she was the ghost in the invisible bikini. And Dr. Goldfoot and the girl bombs, or Dr. Goldfoot and the bikini machine, amazing looking woman or whatever. She ended up marrying James Nicholson, who was one of the heads of AIP, and she was a trophy wife, and it caused the other guy from AIP, Arkoff, the business guy, to kind of like get mad at him, and it kind of broke up their relationship, and AIP kind of became Arkoff, and Nicholson went off and started his own company, and then he passed away. So, and apparently this Susan Hart now controls some AIP movies which aren't available now, including the Colossal Man,
Uh,
because for some reason she's looking for big money or whatever. I don't know. There's some AIP movies that have been out on DVD and Blu-ray, the Arkoff ones that are out, but she controls some. And anyway, it's a big mess or whatever. So she's one of the daughters, and so anyway, the professor shows up, and Robert Hutton's like, "What's going on here?" And it's like the town looks like evacuated, and the professor said, "Yeah, we've got an invasion of slime people." Okay. So what are the slime people? Well, I explained before. It was some underground dwellers that came up to the ground, and now they want to take over. And somehow or another, like I said, they built this, like out of fog, they built this huge dome. I don't know, around LA or something like that. So as they're driving around the city, they find dead people. They find cars crashed, the whole 9 yards. So, they find, they go into a building, and it turns out this building is like some kind of a TV studio or something, or movie studio. Anyway, they want to find out about what this deal is. So the professor goes, "Oh, yeah, I'll go in the back, and there's like some film cans, and they should explain it to you." So it's so weird, bizarre. So basically, okay. So Robert Hutton goes in, puts in the film, and explains. They explain all what I said before about the slime people from on the underground coming because of nuclear testing. They built a dome, blah 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 or whatever. So they're watching this movie or newsreel or whatever you want to call it about the slime people. And all of a sudden, like two drunks come in, and like they start like fighting or something, and then they go into another room or whatever, and then you see one of the slime guys come from underground, and they hide in a building, and then they meet a soldier. That's the other guy that shows up, the soldier guy. He's a younger guy. So you got a soldier guy with a one daughter, and you got Robert Hutton hitting on the other daughter. I don't blame him. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. So they hide in the building, and the monsters try to get in, and they kill one of the looters or whatever, and then they go, and within the building they see, I guess it was a TV studio. They find like a camera, and they try to broadcast. They try to set up the camera and broadcast to the outer outside of LA or whatever. I think it was LA. Hey, we're stuck in here, but apparently the army can't get in because the
right.
dome is not allowing them to get in. So they whatchamacallit, they talk about the fog dome and all that. And then at this point, now you're setting up relationships. The soldier boy and the one daughter is getting lovey-dovey. And, okay. And then the next morning they go out looking for supplies. And, and then they're trying to get food or whatever, and they can't find anything. And then it cuts back to the inside, and then that Robert Hutton is like sitting there while the daughter's like going through the pantry, and he goes, "Hey," and he walks over and starts talking. He gives her a big kiss, and I'm like, "Already, dude?" And then the professor come in, and he kind of looks away, like, "Oh, okay. I guess I gotta let him. I guess I guess I gotta let him mess around with my daughter." I guess I gotta let this 50-year-old guy mess around with my 20-year-old daughter, because I got no choice or whatever. So
Well,
anyway, they're driving around looking for food, This is a bizarre part. They meet up with some guy. He's like a writer. Les Tremaine plays him. And Les Tremaine was well best known for being Shazam, the guy who was in the in the trailer with Shazam. Remember the Shazam TV show on Saturday mornings? Did you ever see that? Captain Marvel, it was. You never saw that?
No, I don't think I ever watched that. Was it a
Okay.
live
Well,
act? I guess
basically,
it
it
was a
was
live
like,
action.
yeah, it was live action. Yeah. Anyway, that was one of it. He also did B movies and stuff like that. But this is the movie gets got even more bizarre. Okay, they go, oh, who's that guy over there? Oh, that's so and so. I forgot what his name was. He's the writer. He's a goofball. Don't even bother. And the people go, oh no, you got to get him. So Les Tremaine is walking around holding a goat. Okay, he's holding a big old goat in his hand, and he's like, "Oh, well, this is incredible. I got to write a story about this," and blah blah blah. And it's like Robert Hunt's like, "Okay, fine, let's go." And the lady goes, "No, no, no, bring him in, bring him in." And he goes, "Okay, well, you can come in, but you got to leave the goat behind." Oh, but that's my little baby. And I'm like, "What is the relationship between him and the goat?" But whatever. That's best left unsaid. I don't understand. This guy's a total lunatic. Okay, so he becomes part of the group or whatever. So they're trying to find the fog wall. Okay, they can't find it. They don't know where it is. So that's a lot of the story is like they're trying to find out where these guys are at or whatever, and they're trying to they're trying to like basically the doctor says you got to get this in order to like free the town because if not they're just going to kill everybody. But basically these monsters run around and they run around with spears, okay, and they can barely throw the spears, okay, and it's like I guess what they're doing is they're walking up to people and freaking them out and then spearing them to death. But when
Yeah, spearing them.
yeah, but when these guys fight them, it's like the spears go 5 feet, and then the guys like fight them and kick them, and then they can't shoot them because apparently according to the professor, they heal quickly. So the only thing that can kill them, according to the professor, is a spear going through them, and it just kind of like it won't be allowed to heal because it's gone through them. Whereas a bullet will go in and apparently it will heal. I
Isn't
don't
it
understand.
like a hollow
Yes,
something? They have that
exactly,
hollow spear.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's like they arrive at a house, and they what you call it. They're just looking around, and then monsters show up every once in a while, and then they kind of fight them and they kick them out, and then eventually what happens is that they're going out looking for they go out and looking for what you call it the monsters. So then a lot of this movie now in fog is like the soldier goes out with one daughter, Robert Hutton goes out with the other one, and then at some point the daughter and the what you call it the soldier they grab the daughter the slime people and the soldier fights him but she gets away so now he ends up beating up the monster and he goes back and now he tells him hey they took your daughter and then Robert Hutton decides oh well I think they just want to hold her as hostage in order for us to come out so they can kill us so okay we got to go out and like what you call it get these guys so they're going out and they're constantly fighting the monsters and like I said that's when the professor goes well maybe we need salt because maybe we can break the wall with salt because I don't know, some rigmarole apparently when he was flying over apparently the sea salt wasn't allowing the dome to cover it. I don't understand it. I'm just relaying the storyline or whatever. So, what you call it? Let me go to the next page. Oh, here we go. So anyway, oh God, the slime man shows up. They fight a lot, a lot. They fight a lot. They kick and Robert they do like flips and all this stuff or whatever. So basically they fight him, and then they find out where the girl is. She's in the cave and she's still alive, so they save her again, and then they fight another monster. And this is like what I said before. This through a haze of fog. I don't know. It's what do they call that? Screen. It's fake fog. It's like they just put a gauze over the screen or whatever. So I'm just going through it real quickly. I'm not going through every detail or whatever. So then, as so then they get her and they're driving back, and all of a sudden there are people still around that haven't been killed yet, but they're like, they're basically they're running around acting crazy, and they're also like pilfering food or whatever, because of course, it's like a madhouse or whatever. So they go out to the find the girl, and then at some point, what's his face, Les Tremaine decides he doesn't want to be anymore. So he wants to leave. So they let him go. Of course, inevitably he goes out. He goes, I'm going to go into this house. He sees somebody speared, and then he gets killed. So that's it for him, because he's just like I don't know what the point of having him in this movie was. So they're
Did it go?
fighting.
Did he take
What's
the
that?
goat with him?
No, the goat was, I don't know what happened to the goat. The goat was left behind. So basically, this movie is so stupid. So basically, they're running around, they're splitting up, they're going here, blah blah blah, and then like okay, I think I know Robert Housen. I think I'm going to go into this cave here after they kill a few monsters and look for the fog machine or whatever. Okay, great. So they're going around. Then finally, he goes, "Hey, look! I think that's the fog machine over there. The fog machine is like it looks like it's a pit with a balloon coming out of it, and it's like, oh, there's the fog machine. We're gonna throw salt in it? No. And he throws a spear, and the spear busts the fog machine. And as it busts the fog machine, all of a sudden the haze ends, and all the monsters are like dying off or whatever. Little by you see them like walking around, and it's like, oh, boom, boom, they fall down, they die out, and it's like, oh, great, oh my God, you saved us, Robert Hutton. And then you see the army coming in, and you're like, they're just standing there waiting, and all of a sudden a guy, a colonel or a sergeant or whatever, comes in a jeep, and he's like, oh, who did you guys actually destroy these people? Yeah, how'd you do it? Oh, this fog machine. Oh, well, shake my hand, Professor. I'm going to take you to the government, and we're gonna, you're gonna explain everything to us. You're like a hero. And I'm going, oh, okay. So they all jump in the, they all jump in the jeep. The end. I was gonna go little by little by little, but it's like, it's such a goofball movie that it's not even. Look, I'll tell you, it's black and white.
Hmm.
It's 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 cheap. Apparently, from what I read here, some of the people didn't get paid for this movie.
Wow.
Uh, the movie shot for 80,000, but the most of the money went to the costumes of the of the slime people. And basically, some of the actors didn't get paid. He says here in an interview with Hutton, he said neither he nor the stuntman were paid for their work in the film. At the slime people's costume cost half the film's budget. So, I don't think Susan Hart got paid. That's the way it goes. That's showbiz, as they say, or whatever. But you know what? I mean, if you want some dumb laughs or whatever, they can, you can watch it. I guess it's only 77 minutes. Here's the thing: the professor figured out that not only you're supposed to kill them with their spear, but you have to take the tip off the spear.
Yeah, because it was hollow, and for some reason, the
Did you see
hollow.
this? Did you see this
I
before?
saw this when I was like 9 years
You
old.
remember this,
And
don't
I
you?
remember, I remember this because at the time it looked cool on my old tube television that needed like a few minutes to warm up before the picture would come up. And the black and white quality was, the quality of the tubes the television tubes back then were not great. And so, it looked cool. And the thought of, I liked the design of the costumes and the slime
Yeah, the
people.
monsters were okay.
And back then, that's all if they had a good looking monster, the
That's all
story.
you cared about. You're exactly right. It's a cool monster. They're kind of clunky.
Yeah,
They're
but
strong, but these guys can knock them around easy, because they're
yeah,
clunky.
they're clunky and slow moving. The only thing they had going for them is that if you shot them or stabbed them or whatever, they
Shooting
healed.
them didn't work.
Yeah, and
You got to spear them.
you had to punch a hole through them
Yeah.
and with the hollow spear, um, to kill him because the wound couldn't close up or something like. It made sense to me back then. When you're a dopey kid and you read comic books and
Exactly right. No, it's a comic book
it's
movie,
a
but I
comic book
laughed so
movie.
much,
Yeah,
you know?
it's fun now watching it because it's so dopey and silly.
It is a silly movie, yeah, you know.
Yeah,
But I mean, like I said, my favorite laugh was when like Robert Hutton comes in and he sees the daughter there, and he's like, "Hey, give me a kiss, baby," you know. And I'm like, "What?" You know? He looked like Kent Taylor, and she looked like freaking Annette Funicello or something. I'm
yeah,
like, dude, man, wow, nice job, nice good
yeah. Well,
move on your part.
you see that a lot in older movies. The guy is like 40, verging on 50, and
Yeah,
his girlfriend or love interest is like in her 20s.
I know.
That was like,
It was so
eh,
much better back then.
even back then, that like it's kind of weird. I don't know if I like that.
I don't know. I thought it was funny as shit. I'm sorry about the bad word. I thought it was funny because it was so inappropriate. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
hey, Robert Hutton, man, you might be the only guys left on Earth. You might as well take your shot. What the
yeah,
heck?
exactly.
The professor didn't seem to care. He just turned his head and go, oh no, I popped in on something.
Oops, sorry.
Whatever. This was one of the movies in the first season of MST, and I'm sure he got that treatment or whatever.
Yeah,
And yeah, Les Tremaine. Let's see who the actors are. Robert Hutton, Les Tremaine as a writer. Robert Burton as a professor. Susan Hart was one of the daughters. William Boyce as the
I guess he was a
soldier.
soldier.
Judy Morton as the other daughter, and John Close as Vince Williams. I don't even remember Vince Williams, but again, there was like weird things like they're watching the movie, they're watching the newsreel, and all of a sudden two like bums come in and start fighting. I'm like, why? What did nothing to survive about. Les Tremaine did nothing. Comic relief, I guess, or some bizarro. Even Robert Hutton, when he saw me, goes like, "Oh yeah, I know who that guy. That guy's a writer. He's a lunatic." Yeah, why is he in this movie?
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
maybe to
know.
fill time or space, or like you said, add comic relief.
Yeah,
Or
you're right, because this is only a 77-minute movie, so maybe they figured, hey, we got to pad it out with like some stupid, comic relief or whatever, some
yeah,
bizarre thing or whatever. But yeah, this was 63. What year was
63 was also the
so they were both made at the same
yeah,
time.
both made around the same time.
I wonder if they're the same studio or not. Yeah, let me see. The Slime People was let's see. I mean, Rhino put it out, but that doesn't mean I seem to remember them playing in TV on like Medallion TV or some, distributed by Donald J. Hansen Enterprises. Wow, the Slime People, this is the budget was 56,000, but I think the guy said it was 80,000, so maybe they spent some more money on more
Yeah.
costumes or whatever. I mean, I don't know how many slime people there were, because guys could have been wearing suits and, you
I don't
know,
remember a lot of Donald J. Hansen distributed.
let's see, the
Uh,
crawling hand is
they were distributed by both
same
by
company,
Donald Hansen. Yeah,
same company. Yeah, that's why they were both released at the same. They probably were a double feature.
yeah, in some places. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember seeing a lot of slime people at once.
Towards the end of the movie, you saw two or three walking together.
Right. So maybe that's all the costumes they had too at
Yeah,
first.
they had three costumes. That's what I was thinking. They had three costumes, but they made it look like there was a lot more of them because they kept fighting them, and then another one would pop out, and
Right.
and it was like, oh, there's a bunch of them. Well, nah, I can't. I tell you, this is a reference that maybe you'll get or maybe you won't, but some people will. And the reason I put this together is it reminded me of it in the band Genesis when they did the Lamb Lies down on Broadway.
Mhm.
there was a character that Peter Gabriel portrayed on stage was called the Slipperman, and it was more bizarro than the Slime People, but it was in the same it was the same ballpark or whatever. I was like, oh look, it's this there's a Slipperman or whatever, But anyway, yes, like you said, if you want a dumb, fun kids horror movie with monsters, the Slime People, only 77 minutes. It's on YouTube.
It's
You know,
fun.
it's not bad. It's bad, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Now the crawling hand, what's your is it fun? Is it not
It's fun.
bad?
The story's a little. I can't even say that because they don't really explain a lot, but there's less. Um,
It's a longer movie too, from what I
yeah,
see
there's less
here.
empty space or stuff in it. Um, everything sort of follows each other, so the story's a little more thought out. But I
Okay.
mean, they still leave a lot of stuff for you to guess at, and like why does like what is populating the hand? They do
They
some.
never explain it. They never
They
explain
never
it.
fully
They
explain it.
never say it's like an alien life force or anything like that.
Yeah, they go on about how, like I said, chemicals and cosmic radiation and microbes, can go through a rapid evolution. But I mean, they don't really identify it or say, hey, this is what's moving the hand or whatever. So it's just taken for granted that, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't
it's
look
fun.
like they were. Doesn't
It's a
look
fun movie.
like.
It's a fun movie, and again, it's you watch these movies not to,
Yeah, we're not trying to analyze them and find any hidden meanings
yeah,
or anything.
yeah. It's just, hey, let's watch a goofy, fun movie and
Yeah,
eat popcorn and
yeah. Have a few beers.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, the crawling hand. I mean, the slime people did touch on nuclear. So they did. There was there was an attempt at Cold War. Like, oh, they're bombing. They're doing nuclear testing underground, and that's why. So it's almost like ecological stuff or
I see.
whatever. So there was a hint of that, of some serious. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But not a serious movie. So
Uh,
anyway, that this was an interesting take on our show. Next time we do a show, I'm gonna make sure that we do the same movie because it's my fault that we didn't. But I kind of like doing two different movies and taking two
yeah,
different
every
takes
once in a
of it.
while, it kind of works. Depending on the movies, though. I mean, if you're trying to do a double feature with 2001: A Space Odyssey and A Clockwork Orange, you're going to be like,
That would be a
uh,
different show.
yeah,
That's for our Kubrick show, which will never happen. But we can dream or whatever. But oh gosh, I still have the VHS of these things, but it's in storage. But
yeah.
I'm sure they're on Yeah, they are on DVD. I saw the packaging, so I don't think they're on Blu-ray though. But I'm sure they're on Tubi or some streaming channel. I saw mine on YouTube. It was some guy has a channel called Pizza Flicks, so you can check it out there. I forgot who the crawling hand was because I forgot to
I think
watch it.
it's
So
cult. What is it? Cult movie,
called Classics or
cult
something.
classic, something like that.
Okay, all
You know.
right, sounds good.
Yeah,
Well, that's our double feature today of the crawling hand and the slime people. Tell us what you think. You know,
yeah. Let us know.
subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff that YouTube people tell
Yeah, blah
you.
blah blah. Yeah.
We'll have a Patreon. We'll have a Patreon up soon, and make us rich, and it's gonna be great. And watch these movies, and we're the Siskel and Ebert of this
This
this genre
genre.
or something. I don't know. All right, that's it for today. But in the
Yep.
meantime, Roddy, while we're gone,
In the meantime, watch more B movies.